I'm sorry, conscious man, but I am not quite yet brave enough to attach my camera outside of the car. So we're going to settle for a more comfortable and less artistic approach. At least while I'm building up my courage, I guess you can say. So gents, I kind of wanted to take today to speak a little bit about a classic question that I get more often than not, and it has nothing really to do with self-improvement per se. Well, it's self-improvement in a different kind of context. It's more about business, and it's more specifically about this kind of creator sphere that we all live in at the moment. And with the rise of so many people doing their side hustles and their little projects, I do happen to get the odd question around it. Now, there's two different styles of questions that I'm going to be speaking about today. One of them is, you know what, it's interesting because depending on the kind of question somebody asks me, I can already tell whether or not they're going to be successful in that particular sphere. So listen closely to these two styles of questions, okay? So the first one is something like this: Joseph, really enjoy what you're doing. How did you get into it? How did you get started? You know, what would you recommend for me to start? Which is a fair question, right? I think it's a very honest question, a very transparent question. It comes from a very, very good place. And then there's another style of question. And this second style of question goes something like this: Joseph, how long did it take you to get this amount of subscribers? How long did it take you to get monetized on YouTube? Now, can you see the difference between those particular styles of questions? One individual is maybe not directly, but more directly than the other individual, focused on the artwork behind doing what they're doing, right? And the other individual is solely focused on the outcome, on the monetary outcome, the vanity metric of the subscriber count, all these other bits and pieces, right? They, to be transparent with them, they could care less. They could care less about what they are doing. They are solely engaged on the fruits of the labor. And those individuals, they'll never make it. They'll never make it. And this kind of is the start of the, I suppose, the premise of the video here. And it's that there's this big shift. I mean, I don't like the word content creator. I don't think I would ever refer to myself as a content creator. I mentioned in a previous video that I had real personal gripes, even with this notion that, well, of this idea of being an influencer. It's not something that I like to presently entertain, because I believe my field of work is more education than it is maybe influencing. Not influencing you to do anything. I'm just giving you the information you need to make a decision. And therein lies my artwork. So I believe there's a real big shift from individuals being considered content creators as opposed to artists. And that is something that I believe, if you're really serious about creating something maybe similar to my business, maybe you want to make YouTube videos, maybe you want to create Instagram Reels or TikTok, whatever your game is, right? That's completely your choice. But there has to be a real conscious shift now, not to the vanity metric, not to the subscriber count, not to the view count, not to all these bits and pieces, and stay loyal to your craft, staying loyal to your art. Because that is always going to be the difference between individuals making it or not. Oh dear. And the reason why is because I can do what I'm doing irrespective of the outcomes. Irrespective, think about that. I think I've mentioned this before, but I did YouTube. I made 2 YouTube videos a week for a year. And I think I started like 2020, something like that, maybe early 2019. So I did 2 YouTube videos every week for a year. Guess how many subscribers I got out in that time? It was like 220. Right? Now, to an outsider looking in, you see it from a business perspective and you say, quit, Joseph, what are you doing? 220 subscribers for 2 YouTube videos a week for a year. You're you're not built out for this. You're not built out for this. But the point I'm trying to make is, I didn't care about the subscriber count. I still don't really care. I mean, obviously I'm not saying that I completely don't care, because I'm a human being and I'm sensitive towards the metrics in that respect, but my focus has always been to the creative process of my art. And I'll go even one step further for you here. Okay, even one step further for you here. Because I have a client at the moment who has similar aspirations in this respect. And he tells me all these bits and pieces, Joseph, I don't feel like I can do justice to a video on a topic because I don't know it as well as other people, which is a fair point. I don't know when to stop. I don't know how much detail to go into, all these other bits and pieces. And he censors himself, or he stops himself before he's even really tried. And, the heartbreaking part of, that aspect is there is no enjoyment to the actual task of doing it, of the research that you're doing. And I say to him, do it for you. Like, research something for you. All of my videos, guys, and this is going to be maybe an out-of-pocket thing to say, all of my videos are not really for you guys. They're not really for you guys. I'm glad that a lot of you find value in them. I really am glad. Nothing brings me more joy. But the only reason I make videos is really for me, from a selfish perspective, and not a selfish perspective in terms of the monetary and vanity metric count, but education. I want to know a subject very, very well, and the way you know subjects very, very well is you teach them. You make them more digestible and more palatable to individuals who maybe don't know the subject. Because if you can't make a subject palatable, digestible for somebody who's maybe a lot younger than yourself, maybe a child, then you don't know the subject very, very well. So all the videos I make are because I've read a book, or I've watched a video, or I've read a study, watched a lecture, read an email, and I've gone, right, that's really, really interesting. I want to make sure, think about this, I want to make sure that I know that subject well. So I create a video, maybe I write a script or something basic, or I have a few ideas that connected a couple, thought forms together, maybe a story, maybe an analogy. And I'm trying to present it to a new audience in a way which has some artistic premise behind it, and deliver it in a way that, again, is more digestible and more beautiful. And that's all you guys have to do, is fall in love with that particular aspect of the creative process, and you'll never go wrong. And you can do it forever. Like, I can keep doing these videos forever and ever because I enjoy doing them. There's so many different ways to do it. And it doesn't always have to be, a finished piece of work. So my client I was speaking to was saying, just tell me a little bit about the subject. Maybe it's just one thing. Maybe the subject is fats, right? Maybe you're talking about fats and how beneficial fats are to the diet. Maybe you just learned one new thing about fats. Maybe the new thing you've learned about fats is that most people aren't getting enough fats in their diet. Well, tell me about it. Tell me the statistics behind it. How many people are deficient in fat in their diet? What sources of fat can they eat? It might just be a video on those two subjects alone, but you're never done fully gorging on all the material and the content there is about fat, pardon the pun. You're always learning more. I'm always developing myself in different areas, and then, there's an excuse for a new piece of art. So it's called iteration. All content creators are iterators. They're finding a subject that there's been a wealth of knowledge about, or maybe it's a previous video, and they just create another video. They create another video which is better, which is more polished, which is more artistic. In fact, most of the videos that I've done, guys, I've done content on them in a similar way. I've just maybe gone in a different field, a different perspective, a different vernacular. You can go esoteric, you can go scientific, you go from Hindu lens, you go from Taoist lens. Everything that I'm talking about in a different language, in a different perspective. And in that way, I'm creating this very concise and, well, not concise, but very elaborate and, content-dense piece of art. And in that way, I would implore you to do the same. Is if you're if you're looking at what is it now, like 1,000 subscribers you need to get monetized, and something like 4,000 hours watch time. If you're looking at that, don't even bother starting, because you don't care. You don't care about the artwork, the artistic element behind it. That is the most important thing, because if you're an artist, you will continue making art until you die. But if you're solely concerned with the vanity metrics, the fruits of your labor, the monetary outcome, hey man, that comes and goes. That comes and goes. But art, and I mean art, I use the word art interchangeably with some things that people wouldn't even consider art. Like, I think a movie is a great piece of art. I think a tweet is a great piece of art. I think a book is a great piece of art. And that's the question that you should be asking yourself if you have aspirations to build a business, is what is your art? What is the art you are creating? Be an artist. Don't be an entrepreneur. Be an artist. What is your art? Going over some speed bumps here, guys, so hang on. Well, that gimbal is working very, very well. And I think, gentlemen, this is probably a great opportunity for me to end the video, as I'm about to pick up some nutrition. But think on that, meditate on that. What is your art? Speak soon.